right, it's the Paul Industry 8 o'clock hour. For all your heavy machinery needs, they are Napa Auto certified, and they can help you out with all your bulldozers, backhoes, skid steers, all that sort of thing. All you got to do is go by and see them at 804 Loving Highway, 549-8100.
Well, that almost sounds like the name of a good country band, Bulldozers and Backhoes.
That's right, bulldozers. That is not a bad idea. We ought to start a band, Joe. Hey, speaking of Joe, he's in. The taxi pulled up, and we have Joe Swidhofer, the Bryan insurance guy. And, you know, we got that car show coming up.
Yeah, Cars and Stars.
You know, people are going to be
Is it Stars and Cars?
It's Cars and Stars.
Oh, because it is about the cars.
It's all about the cars.
Not about the stars.
No, it's all about the cars. I'm one of the stars that are going to be there.
Oh, wow. Look at that, folks.
That's why we go second.
Look at that, folks. Yeah, buy your tickets now.
Get your tickets now. But yeah, we got that car show coming up. And, you know, it gets me to thinking about, you got classic cars. I mean, you don't drag them out very often.
No.
You know, there's not a car that you drive every day. Or maybe you have an older vehicle with a lot of miles on it, maybe that you're still driving. Is the insurance for classic type cars or older type cars, is it different from buying something new?
Yeah, it sure is. You know, we talked a week or two ago about buying the brand new Dodge Hellcat, 2014, 2015 Dodge Hellcat. And we talked about insurance for that and kind of total cost. So we'll kind of switch gears a little bit and kind of go the opposite direction. Yeah, there are folks out there specifically like for an event like Cars and Stars that are going to bring cars out that are, no way a daily driver. Mainly it's just like a car that they're going to bring to a show every year, maybe a classic Camaro. Big fans of those. Classic Ford, something like that, whatever your classic type vehicle is. And so you wouldn't really put that on a regular policy that you drive on a car every day. You're back and forth to work, your daily commuter. We've got a couple of companies we work with that specifically cover those cars, and they cover them from a couple of different perspectives. You can still get replacement value. Some of those cars are difficult though, because if you've got a car you've made heavy modifications to, or something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, you just want to make sure you have it valued correctly. If you've kind of built it up, broke it down and built it back up, customize it in any way, you want to make sure you got a good value for that. But yeah, there are companies that work with cars that you basically we call them parade cars, the ones you're just going to bring out for those parades or shows like Cars and Stars. But we've also got coverage for cars that you're going to do your Sunday afternoon, you're cruising on a Sunday afternoon kind of car, put the top down, maybe had a friend of mine that I grew up with a little bit as a kid and went back and visited with him, and his dad, man, he had the coolest car. I don't remember what year it was, but it was a GTO convertible, had a 6-pack under the hood. I just thought that was the coolest thing. And so for cars like that, when, hey, it's a nice day, we're going to put the top down, something that's probably going to be in a garage or in a storage building until you want to take it out. Yeah, there's coverage for that. We work with a couple of companies that'll do that for you. We just got to make sure that we classify it correctly. It's the 1 or 2 a year type of driving, or it's the, hey, you know what, I may put 3,000 or 4,000 miles on it, but I'm not going very far. I'm not going to take it across country. It's just going to be kind of back roads and stuff like that. So we're probably going to ask a lot of questions and just make sure that it's covered properly.
What if you've got, let's say, somebody that has a 1979 Ford F-150. They drive maybe 20, 30 miles a week, going back and forth to the store, going back and forth to church, that sort of stuff. The car, they've had it for a long, long time. The truck they've had for a long time. It doesn't have it's got a few miles on it, but not a lot. But it's just an older vehicle. Is there a difference in that sort of insurance?
Oh, sure. If a client came to me with that, I would probably just ask them, let's look at a value. If it's a vehicle like that, like an old truck, maybe an old farm truck that you're using it for that. You want to look at it and say, hey, could you stand to lose it? God forbid somebody plows into you, or, you have an accident, plow into somebody else, what have you. Could you stand to lose it from a cost standpoint? Take the sentimental aspect out of it. Hey, the value of it may only be $1,000 to $3,000 because it's a 79. It's not one of your show cars type of a thing. And hey, let's just look at it. Keep your liability limits. That's, that doesn't have any effect on anything. Make sure your liability limits are high. But from a replacement standpoint, I don't know that a vehicle like that you'd want to have full coverage on it, just because I don't know that it's going to be cost effective for you. Even if you're a great driver, no accidents, no tickets, if it's only worth $1,500, $2,000, putting full coverage on it, even if you keep your limits low, 250, 500, is it worth it for you to have? Because basically they're going to have to write you a check. It's not like you can go out and find another one of those. And you may not be able to find another one of those for the value that they pay for it. It's just one of those gray areas, so to speak. So my recommendation in a situation like that would be to just say, hey, let's keep your liability on it. Let's keep your uninsured motorist on it, things like that. Maybe you want to have some coverage, coverage like that. But I just, I don't know that full coverage in a non-show car situation would be worth it.
Well, I was just, wondering, you think about maybe some of these folks that have had these cars for a long time have stuck with the same insurance company forever, just keep paying the premium and not realizing that they could save some money by maybe switching around.
Yeah, and it's not even switching around from company to company. Sometimes it's even as much as, hey, let's look at our coverages and make sure. We talk so many times now. We do that. We see that a lot with houses, for example. Somebody has been with the same customer some customers have been with the same company for so many years that the coverage they got on their home, for example, maybe 10, 20 years ago isn't going to cover them if the house burns to the ground now, because replacement cost values have gone up. So if they've got a $200,000 house that 20 years ago was insured at 100, 110, that was great back then, but it ain't going to get it done now.
Right.
And so kind of the same thing with cars. If you've had that old 79 or 75 F-150, did they call them F-150s back
Yes.
then? They did?
Yes.
I thought they had just the F-100s.
No, they had all that.
I have to revert to you on that. So if you've had
Thank you. I appreciate the old shot.
Hey, you got to take a shot when you take it.
I know.
So, if you've got one of those old cars like that, probably a good idea to say, hey, do I really need full coverage on this sucker? I mean, the money that I'm paying out per year, or what I would have to pay for deductible-wise, and how much they're going to recoup back if it's a total loss. You just got to sit down with your agent and just make sure it makes good sense.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you need to, I guess, reevaluate your insurance needs every few years anyway.
Every couple of years, it doesn't hurt. Again, whether or not you've been with the same company for so many years, been with the same agent, it's always a good idea to kind of get a second opinion. Go out, have somebody take a look at it, look over what you got, see if there's some holes. Hey, you know what? We have clients come to us and say, hey, can you take a look at this? Sometimes we can help, sometimes we can't. Usually when we can, we're at least going to make recommendations for you and say, hey, you may want to look at modifying some coverage here, modifying some coverage there, maybe get an umbrella, maybe look at that old car and say, hey, do you really think you need full coverage on that anymore? It just makes good sense to once every couple of years sit down with an agent, get face-to-face with them, go through all your stuff that you've accumulated, and just kind of make sure you're covered the way you need to be.
Now, if folks are listening and they're thinking, okay, I got a classic car, I need to insure or get better insurance on, or evaluate, or maybe they have an older car that they're wanting to talk to you about, they need to get a hold of you. How do they do it?
Yeah, 549-2525. You can come on up to the second floor of the Sierra Bank building. As always, give you that free elevator ride. Although I will encourage you, wife got me a Fitbit for Valentine's Day. I don't know if she's
really?
Yeah, so I will encourage you to take the stairs. Get a little exercise, take the stairs. Or Bryan with a Y, BRYANINS.com. You can always go there. We've got a lot of great information on that website. And visit our Twitter page. We've got a YouTube channel up there. And a lot of ways to connect. If you want to get some information, you can always say, hey, have somebody call me. A lot of just great ways to to stay in touch with us, to ask questions. And like I said, let us take a look. Let us make sure you're covered the way you need to be.
Get it done at Bryan Insurance Agency, serving Graham for almost 100 years. Joe, appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks, Rick.
Stay tuned. We have more coming up on the Appliance Industry 8 o'clock hour as the sun is coming up. Praise God.
Q 94.7.